Okay, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I begin with this camp session, I want to face the east. We give all praises, honor, and glory to our power. Yahweh, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahawashi is the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, Agri, millstone, who do well and teach well. Shalom to the whole full elect and you Akiman, your brothers pushing this word throughout the four corners of the earth with all truth and sincerity, making your calling and election sure, man. Shalom, shalom. And this is gonna be camp session, just going into really going through the spirit, man, and prophesying, because at the end of the day we come out here to the highways and the hedges to prophesy the downfall of America, Babylon the Great, and to wake up our people, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you scattered about Israelites that may look like the other nations, but believe on the names and the doctrine given unto us by the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, which we believe through faith is 100% truth according to salvation, man. So we're just gonna jump straight into it. Let's go into the book of, Yahawashi. I just got a new Bible, so now we got that cracking off. Let's get in the book of Matthew. Let's go. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 1. And I'm gonna just jump down to verse 2. I really can start at verse. Now I'll start at verse 1. And Yahawashi went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to shew him the buildings of the temple. And Yahawashi said unto him, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Verse 3, And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, right? So what shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of that coming and of the end of the world, right? Because what we're prophesying, we're here to say, to prophesy means to say before. So we're saying before, the end of the world happens, which, the world itself is going to always, be intact, pursuant to the precepts, right? The scriptures say that the earth abideth forever, right? So what does that entail? That the kingdom of heaven is going to be here on earth, of course. We're letting you people know that before, the end of the world really, hits, right, so to say, which is the end of Esau, Edom's world, right, which is going to be finished and terminated, by nuclear missiles. That's how it's going to really, fully close out, so to say, and the new covenant is going to be established. But there's going to be things happening before we even get to that point, and it's going to be, harsh things. Let's get this precept real quick. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, and verse 4. And these are the words that the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man does travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Right? Because this is what the Lord's saying, this is what the prophet is saying, Jeremiah, before, the great and terrible day of the Lord, man. Because before, we even get to witness nukes, and seeing this place just really get destroyed on that high level and that high magnitude, it's going to be what? Jacob's trouble. You're going to have, famine, pestilences out here, cannibalism. You're going to have all types, people eating their own fucking kids, selling their own kids, so on and so forth. That's in the book of Kings. And pursuant to the book of Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, that what has been is that what shall be, and that there is no new thing under the sun. The only thing about this prophecy right here is that all those, calamities that had happened back then in the world, in these different, time periods, like, the great plagues, and, just think about all those, great times of tribulation are here upon the earth, man. You got to bottle that all up into one place here in America, Babylon the Great, and only the elect are going to make it, man. That's also in the book of Ezekiel, if I'm not mistaken, man. Because it says that though Job, there's a precept that goes into though Job and Daniel, and I forgot the other prophet. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Ezekiel or Jeremiah. We're in these things, or Lot. I think it was Lot. We're in this talking about famine. Only they themselves should deliver themselves through the righteousness, man. So, their righteousness is what allowed them to deliver themselves. And it goes into, there's plenty of precepts that go into that, man. For the most part, the majority of people, you're not going to make it, bro. you're not gonna make it, man. So you see all these people walking around, and you wonder why there's so little bit of us going out to the highways and the hedges doing this work. There's only so little bit of us that prophesy and come out and teach the names of Yahweh and Yahawashi and the doctrine. We don't shun to declare unto you the whole counsel of the Most High. We let you know what it is, whether you people like it or not, man. We bring out the ins and out of the scriptures, man. The how you say it, the good and the bad, the bitterness and the sweetness. Right? We talk about the kingdom. We talk about our bodies being transformed. We talk about spiritual powers. We talk about deliverance and so on and so forth. But the scriptures say that a false balance is an abomination unto the Lord, right? There's also fucking evils, pestilences, your own family turning you in, your own family being judged, so on and so forth, man. So these are the times that we got to prepare ourselves for, because these are the times that we're heading into. Before the Most High releases these nukes, and while Esau Edom is getting ready to set up his new world order, what's going to be happening, man? Jacob's trouble, and you got accounts of and we can bring it out. It's in the book of let me just get it. If I'm not mistaken, Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon. Going into either Wisdom of Solomon or the Maccabee, man. It's like it. Going into apparitions being played out here again, like the apparitions back then in Egypt. All right, that's getting ready to come back on a high level. So you got a lot of these different things that are going to be playing out here on earth, and that are not going to be pretty, man. You got things like Jacob's trouble, man, which we're reading, which is why it said what? Back at verse 6, Jeremiah 30:6, ask ye now and see whether a man does travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travaileth, and all faces are turned into paleness, man. This is what Jeremiah is saying, before the Lord returns. Verse 7, at last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. You see, so you can't compare, the bubonic plague to this. You can't compare it to a time in history when there was a big famine and people were eating what's it called, I forgot that account, but they were really eating fucking leaves and belts, the leather off the belts and stuff, because the famine was so bad. And you can't even compare those times to this, because it's going to be all of that embodied in one. So back at verse 7, at last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he, the elect, shall be saved out of it. You see? So, hey, man, it is a time of Jacob's trouble. There's going to be a time like never before like it, because you're going to embody all these things. You're going to have Leviathan in the mix. You're going to have apparitions playing out. You're going to have cannibalism playing out, demons playing out. You're going to have the elect playing out and those spiritual powers. You're going to have, man, you're going to have so many things playing out in one go that, it's going to be a time like never before. Really, that's the only way to put it, man. Because this is going to be the last time, us brothers, the Israelites, the 144,000 out of the 12 tribes of Israel, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. 144,000, and the great one, and the 1/3, of course, which the 144,000 are a part of that 1/3. There's only going to be so many of you that make it out of this shit, and the rest is going to perish, man. It's going to perish. So let's go back to Matthew 24 chapter. And verse 4. And this is the end of the world, man. What is the end of the world? What does that even mean? Jake don't even know what the end of the world means. Real quick, I'll show you what the end of the world is, man. Now, real quick, before I even get that, let me see real quick. They have like waves coming upon them. It wasn't for me. It's a lie. Alright. It's fine. So this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, unto Salakia, And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other questions, Esdras, asked thou not. You see, so, hey, Esau, Edom is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So right now we're at the end, right? Because our kingdom is going to be an immortal kingdom. You know, it's going to be the last kingdom ever, because what? The new covenant is going to play out. You know, you people like to say, not you people, but you know, you got camps out here and Christians out here claiming that we're in the new covenant already. It's impossible that we're in the new covenant, man. Right now we're under grace. You know, being under grace means that, you know, you're able to, not able to, Salakia, but you're going to go off. You know, being in this flesh, you're going to go off. Being in this flesh, you're going to sin. Being in this flesh is going to want to do, you know, things that are not, you know, how you say it, you know, righteous, so to say. So being in this time period right now, you know, we're preaching and teaching grace, man. You know, Yahawashi, Yahawashi, you know, no, doesn't allow us Salakia for even using that word. But you know, it's gonna happen, and when it does, as long as you're in the right spirit, as long as you're sincere and repentful, man, you should be good, man. Because at the end of the day, you know, we all go off on this side, man. But this is what we need. This is why we need Yahawashi, man. And you camps out there, you know, you other Israelite camps outside of Great Millstone, man. Because you other camps, you know, you like to push, you know, the law, but the law can't save you. You know, we rehearse the righteous acts. You know, we, to the best of our abilities, follow the law, statutes, and commandments. But we understand that the laws can't save us. And that's actually in the book of Romans. You know what? Let me get that. Because it's a balance with it, man. It is a balance with it. All right, let's see. Real quick. All right. There you go. This is the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound, right? Just because we're in grace, does that mean that we can just live out in sin and just do whatever we want to do? Real quick. God forbid, Yahweh forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know ye not that many of us, as were baptized into Yahawashi Mashiach, were baptized unto his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Hamashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also shall walk in the newness of life, right? So he came back cleansed. You know, he died, but what? He came back, you know, that's certainly what it's referring to, man, us as well. You know, we're what? Dead, being in the world, you know, following after worldly ways, you know, fucking, you know, just listen to rap music, man. Like, listen to what Jake was into. Listen to corridos, listen to all that shit. So like it, man. Let's out the camera. You know, listen to all that, you know. That's where our people was at, man. That's where our people were looking like. Verse 4. Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Hamashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. And goes on to say, verse 5, for we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Verse 6, knowing this is the part, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. And what is sin? Sin is what? The transgressions of the law. All right, you know, people don't even know that. Let's get that. What is that? Second, real quick. There you go. This is the book of give me 1 second. Yep. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committed sin. This is what sin is, man. Write this one down. People don't even know what sin is yet. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law, man. There you go. Sin is a transgression of the law. But what? You read this, you got to keep it with balance. This is why we're under grace. You can't keep the law living in America, Babylon the Great, even if you wanted to. You can have, if the scriptures say if you break one law, you broke all of them. And what can we not do on this side that is pertaining to the law? When your wife is in her menstrual cycle, you're supposed to put her away. Jake don't got second homes to fucking pay for and have their wife out there. No. And that's just one example, man. That's just one example. There's a lot. When you see a Mo, you're supposed to stone him to death in front of everybody. Are you gonna do that? No, you're gonna fucking catch a case and fucking go to jail for the rest of your life, and you won't be able to push the work. So no, you can't do that. Another thing, and there's a ton, man. There's a ton. That you just can't keep on this side, bro. Back in Romans the 6th chapter. Verse 6, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Now if we be dead with the Mashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him. Let me get straight to the point. And I'm going to jump straight to the point, verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. You see, we're under grace. But this does not mean, dude, we just read every single precept before this that said what? We cannot be sinning under grace just because we're already under grace. It goes on to say, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. What then? ? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yahweh forbid. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. But the Most High thanked that ye were the servants of sin. But the Most High be thanked that ye were the servants of sin, but ye have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you. Being then made free from sin, ye became the servants of righteousness. And this is where you get the understanding of why brothers don't gotta wear fringes everywhere they go. Brothers don't gotta teach the word and teach the truth at the wrong time, at a party and shit. No. This is where you get let not thy left hand know what thy right hand do with. This is where you get that wisdom, man. This is cast not your pearls upon swine, so on and so forth, man. This is where you get the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man. Is understanding these precepts, right? Real quick, verse 19. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as ye have yielded your members servants to uncleanliness and to iniquity, unto iniquity, even so now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness. For when ye were the servants of sin, ye were free from righteousness. What fruit had ye in those things? Right? Because you don't get nothing from that. But that's pretty much the point, man. That's pretty much the point on that. But let's go back into prophecy, and really for the majority of you people, man, you're not gonna make it, man. You're not gonna make it. It's the truth. Let's go back to Matthew's 24 and verse 4. And Yahawashi answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, and shall deceive many. Right? You got people that come into the truth and claim they know, that the Most High is dealing with them. You got these different camps that are teaching false doctrines under the names of Yahweh and Yahawashi, under the true names, but they're what? Teaching false doctrine. And pursuant to the book of Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, what's going to happen if you teach the wrong things? You're going to be judged, man. You're going to go out like the people that listen to you. You know? And you got a lot of people claiming they know the truth, they have it. You know, we have the truth. They don't got it. So on and so, man. You gotta pray and fast for discernment, man. You gotta pray and fast for discernment because you got a lot of camps out here. You got a lot of bugged out, folks out here that are out there teaching, man. You had these 2 dudes with garments on, looking like straight like a Great Millstone camp. And I'm not under Great Millstone, but we follow the same doctrine and everything as Great Millstone. You had these 2 dudes looking like a straight Great Millstone camp with a 12 tribes chart sign, saying that all nations can be saved. No, no, like you see, that's bullshit. And then on top of that, saying that the Charagma is not the RFID microchip, the mark of the beast is not the RFID microchip. And the reason I harp on that so much is because you still got people coming into 2026, Israelites claiming to be, people claiming to be Israelites, still not knowing what the fuck the mark of the beast is. How the fuck are you claiming you're an Israelite, but you don't know what the fuck the mark of the beast is, man? It's a lucky, man. The sun is killing me right now. It's right on me. It's right on me. That's a good precept. Verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Come on, bro. Are we not hearing of wars and rumors of wars every damn day? And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Because it's not yet because you need the MOTB to be you need the MOTB to be set up. But these different wars that are happening right now, Venezuela, case in point, happening, and so on and so forth. China getting ready to invade Taiwan and all that. Right, the end's not yet though, because we still need we still need the Charagma to be set up. We still need the MOTB to be set up. But what? These are different signs of the end. That's lucky. Verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. The brother Gamar, he just sent an article that there was a big ass earthquake out there in Central America, man. So the Lord is touching this place, man. And that's just one of, thousands that have been happening, man. You had a lot of people, perish in these different earthquakes that the Lord has been bringing down. Verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. These are the beginning of, so this is how we're entering into Jacob's trouble. This is how we're coming into that time of, seeing men acting like they're fucking pregnant, bro. Not acting, but crying and whining like if they're fucking pregnant. Only the elect are going to be level-headed in that day. That's us hopeful members of the elect that come out to the highways and the hedges, teach our people, make our lessons, and sincerely fear Yahawashi Yahawashi. Verse 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and yet shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So when you read the precepts, they jump from timeline. On this side, brothers ain't going to be getting killed like that. But back then they were, but you're going to have brothers, you're going to have brothers that get sent to these different concentration camps, faced against, presidents and men of importance, elites. And guess what? You're going to be faced with the guillotine, and they're going to say, man, hey, take this Charagma. Or they might not even give you the option. They already seen you out there teaching or whatever. They're going to send you straight to the guillotine, man. They don't off you. So, with that being said, it is going to come to pass. It is going to come to pass that. You're going to have, folks deliver you up. People that know you, people that knew of you. Oh, I know exactly where he's at. Go get him open. Give me some extra, tokens on my microchip, on my microchip, and I'll tell you where he's at. That's how it's gonna be. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Verse 10, And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. That's happening right now. That's another. This I know at the end. Those ones are coming to pass right now. You're gonna have, all these different prophets come out to the highways and the hedges, try to teach, and they're gonna sell you a fucking Hebrew Israelite name. They're gonna sell you a fucking precept packet. They're gonna sell you Israelite 101 outfit. Make merchandise of the truth with the wrong doctrine and pop up all over the place, man. Because what? When times get rough and times get hard, and when just in general, when times get hard and things get rough and things like war are cracking off and so on and so forth, what do people run to? They run to God, right? Quote unquote. So what do? You got these people, you got these churches, right? Of course, they're the number one, pick when it comes to fucking finessing you folks. But you got regular folks, that, see this as an opportunity to make sales, man. They go out and start teaching and claiming they believe in God and so on and so forth. And, you repent, look at these wars, look at everything that's happening. Man, the elders and the apostles have been talking about this. But guess what? You guys simply don't got it. You don't got it, man. You don't have the truth. You don't have the wisdom, knowledge, understanding. You don't have the breakdowns. You read one precept and you go out there and fucking, teach fucking everybody coming together and hugging together, and the Most High is gonna, look out after you if you go ahead and just do that. Just love your neighbor as one of yourself, and you'll be good. And attend this church. Give me $20. Give me $20, and all your sins are clear. You're good. That's how it's gonna be, right? And then you're gonna have, true members of the elect, hopeful members of the elect, going out to the highways and the hedges, teaching the 100% truth according to the Bible. Whether you people hear or forbear, whether you like it or you don't like it, if you hate it, cool. You like it, cool. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're working out our own salvation with fear and trembling. And you people out there in the world, you don't even you're just living life. And that's in the book of Matthew 24 chapter, where you're gonna go into that. You're living life thinking that every time you go to church on a Sunday, all the bullshit you done did from this past week is exited out. You good. Jesus is not looking out after me. Fuck no, you're gonna still be judged for all the stupid shit that you've been doing. Because guess what? After you leave the church, and you come out, you come back even worse. Because what? That's in the book of Ecclesiastes. Because judgment isn't executed speedily; it is set in their hearts to do wickedness, man. Sort of, slightly paraphrasing. Because you don't get judged right away, and more so anything, you go to the church and you see that, damn, I just did this wicked ass deed. I went to church, I got out, I'm good, I'm clean, I can go back and do it again. Same thing that the Israelites were doing back then with the sacrificial law, man. Man, same exact thing. What were they doing? They're about to go off, but what do they have ready? Instead of the church on Sunday, they got a unblemished lamb right there ready to go ahead and sacrifice, just so they can go ahead and commit a sin. So that's exactly how the churches ran, man. The churches ran that's exactly what it is. That's that in the reincarnation. It's you people that are back then in the ancient world, fucking preparing a fucking lamb, unblemished lamb, just so that you can go off and sin, man. That's exactly what the fuck is happening with that church now. Of course, and all types of other, mannerisms of evil happening in there, but that's what it mainly looks like. Verse 10, and then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, right? Because what? Sin is popping here. Sin and wickedness is glorified here. So there's a lot of people out here that are just cold, man. They're just not, there's no more empathy here. People don't care about one another. People out there just looking to flex on one another. People out there looking to, always trying to portray an image because of how the world is set up. You're always trying to be, in the world. They're always trying to be, image-like. They always want to portray an image because what? Everything is pushed on wickedness, man. Back then in the ancient world, we didn't give a fuck about none of that shit. But as long as you're an Israelite brother, and doing what is needed of you to do, you're good. Now on this side, bro, fuck no, they'll kill you over a fucking, you ask to fucking share some shit at the gas station. You ask for $5, you ask for fucking, try to backhand you, bro. Jake, nowadays, everybody's just, evil. Of course, you got those, those few folks. Of course, it's a balance with everything that look out for one another. And of course, you got the ministry, number one. But for the majority of the part, man, these people are what? They're not, you know, they don't have, there's not a lot of love in them because what? They're full of sin, they're full of wickedness. They don't give a fuck about shit, man. They don't give a fuck about anything but themselves. Verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Right? It's gonna really amplify itself going into Jacob's trouble, where, you know, the iniquity and the love of these people waxing real cold. They're gonna be eating one another. They're gonna be giving up, you know, Israelites' locations out. They're gonna be fucking doing all types of wickedness, man. Verse 11, also like it, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this is why, hey, let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your sins pile themselves up. You know, so you gotta fucking have a balance in this thing, man. You can't just be constantly going through hell. If you're constantly going through hell and you constantly, you know, your life, it's because you're not doing something right, man. You're not fucking up on your shit, you know. And then you got brothers that are up on their shit that go through shit, but they understand that what? After a while, the Most High calms it down and rewards you. And then it's a balance. But if you're unbalanced, you know, and you have all this sin upon you, all this wickedness upon you, you're not doing anything to fucking change. Well, guess what? You're gonna have an unbalance in your life, and you're just gonna have straight, you know, chaos and straight, you know, judgment running through your life, man. And that's not what you want. You know, yes, we go through shit like that. Yes, we go through our own hard times and hardships, so that what? We understand that we hate our life, but at the same time, brothers got shit they gotta take care of. Brothers gotta study, brothers gotta read, brothers gotta have time to study, brothers gotta have time to congregate, brothers gotta have time, you know, so on and so forth. And what time on this side usually is tied to, you know, money. So what are brothers doing? You know, the elders even said, man, if you don't got a job, it's off. You gotta make sure you're working. You gotta make sure you have something going on for yourself. You can't just be out there just fucking rotting in your grandma's bed and shit, fucking watching lessons all day. No, that's off. You know, you're doing worse than the Jake that, you know, don't watch lessons all day, but is working, taking care of his fam, making 3 lessons a week, you know, and fucking going out to the highways and the hedges, you know. So, yeah, you know, you gotta be on top of that, man, as the elders say. And let's go down a little bit more, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And this is a big cut to Christianity, to really all these other religions outside of the, you know, which, you know, we're not really a religion, but outside of, you know, the Hebrew Israelite, people call it what, movement, right? So, because what? Christianity, it has been pushed that the 4 corners of the earth, right? It's been pushed, and, you know, not even just pushed, it's been, you know, killed upon people, you know, put on TVs, blasted upon all types of, you know, media platforms and so on and so forth. And then it's a branch from Roman Catholicism. Before Christianity was popping around the world, it was Roman Catholicism. Then you got, you know, Buddhism and all these other fucking, you know, deities and gods and these different, you know, quote unquote religions that have been pushed across the whole world, and nothing. Esau, Edom just been living lavish. The elites, Amalek, they just been chilling, doing good. Nothing has been happening to them. Yeah, you got these Christians, Catholics out here saying, you know, hey, the Lord's gonna come back and make things better. No, man. As soon as the apostles and the elders, really the prophets, starting from one west, when they came out, you know, John the Baptist, he turned, you know, the childless into the fathers, right? When John the Baptist came back into the scene, you know, via Abba Bivens, which he believed through faith, you know, hey, look at the state of the world. Look at the state of the world. World War III talks now. RFID microchip, right? The Revelations 13 prophecy coming to pass. World War III coming to pass. Jacob's trouble coming to pass. Shit hitting the fan coming to pass. America, Babylon the Great being exposed. You know, the nations being exposed to who the wicked is, the breakdowns. You know, who the Israelites are. Look, man, look. And this all happened, you know, it started in the 1980s, if I'm not mistaken. So like, it may even be the 40s, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the 1980s. Man, Christianity and Roman Catholicism has been out for fucking, you know, years, for decades and decades and decades and decades, man. I'm talking about damn near centuries, bro. So like, not decades, centuries. And ain't shit happened. The apostles pop up on the scene, the elders pop up on the scene, you know, the Israelites pop up in the scene, because, you know, I'm gonna just, you keep it true. You got these other camps that, you know, pop out and they wake up Jake, But, Jake that's sincere, they're going to keep studying, and they're going to find out that, whoever they woke up from wasn't right. Like, I woke up via, IUIC on YouTube that said, you're not a Mexican, you're Issacharite. Watched the lesson, and from there, I just kept on watching and just kept on stumbling upon these different camps. And then, later on, man, I landed upon the elders and the apostles at Great Millstone, man. They're the true prophets, according to, which I believe through faith, are the ones that are going to lead us to salvation, man. Any other doctrine out here outside of the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, man, you got to beware and be careful, man. You got to make sure they're saying double honors to the apostles. You got to make sure they're saying, not just to the apostles. You got Jake, and Salaki for my rambling, but you got Jake that says shalom and double honors to the righteous elders. What the fuck is that, bro? What the fuck do you even mean by that? We just read precepts about how, our righteousness is as filthy rags. Man, no, the double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, because they have a separate doctrine than all these other elders, man. We gotta, you gotta know who you actually come under. You just say to the righteous elders, you can be falling under Zabbat, a little bit of Tahar, and a little bit of a Rob Lob here, and a little bit of a fucking Cesariac there, a little bit of fucking, no. What the fuck, no. Man, it's double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, man. The scriptures even say that. But nonetheless, verse 15, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. And this is what the sack of the Jerusalem. And then what? Verse 18, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes, and woe unto him that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And this is a different time period. This is not talking about now, because what? This is where you gotta get the precepts, online, man. The scriptures say that through childbearing she shall be saved. So this is during that time, man. So you gotta, really have, through that precepts, I get understanding. If you're just reading this, verbatim, just like a regular book, you're gonna get lost. You're gonna keep getting stuck. You're not gonna understand what the fuck you're reading, Because it don't matter. If you're a man of Yahawashi, you got 3 kids, you're doing the work. You're going out to the highways and the hedges, and you're doing everything for it to be an elect member. And then you end up being, you're in there to the end, and you're an elect member. Part of 144,000. No matter how many kids you have in that day, man. You're gonna be covered. So it's not talking about that. But then again, one man really. But if you're just a 2/3 ass Jake, all through his fucking the world, you got kids. Hey, guess what, man? You through, man. Yeah, woe unto you that suck in those days, man, because you're gonna go through it. It's gonna be hard for you to move and walk. You're pregnant. It's gonna be hard for you to even fucking maneuver through Jacob's trouble, man. When shit's hitting the fan, you're gonna have troops all over the place. People looking out to kill you. Everybody hunting each other. It's gonna be savage. But if you're a wife of a elect member, if you're a wife of a man of Yahawashi, well, guess what? You're gonna be good. You're gonna be covered. No matter how many kids you have. No matter if you're pregnant when shit's the fan, you're gonna be covered. All right. So it's a balance. Verse 20. But pray, yea, that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, for as such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Verse 22, and except those days shall be shortened, there shall be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So the Most High is what? Speeding up the times. The Most High is speeding up the times, because what? If we let Esau Edom continue to rule, there's going to be no flesh saved, man. He's going to pollute all the fucking air. He's gonna find some new fucking chemical that's gonna be inside of all of our foods and all of our healthy foods, our quote unquote halal foods, that we eat and consume, to the point where, man, we're gonna be fucking perishing left and right. So yeah, the Most High. Look at global warming. Look at the earth. The earth itself is mourning. The earth itself is in the spirit of aching under the rulership of Esau Edom. Verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here's a Mashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall rise false Hamashiachs, false anointed, and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible that they should deceive the very elect. So you're gonna have these different camps. To me, the way I look at it is as well, is these different camps that are, have hundreds and thousands of folks running and walking down the street. That's the way that, Jay gets hooked onto it. Damn, look at all these brothers, man. They really believe in this thing. We know it's true. We know it. Don't get deceived by that shit, man. Don't get deceived by all that bullshit. So what? For there shall rise false anointed and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But again, they can't deceive the elect. Verse 25, behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, shineth even unto the west, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be, man. When the Lord returns, you're going to know. It ain't going to be like, hey, man, Yahawashi, we just seen him. He's actually over there, bro. You got to go out there. Don't believe that shit. The fuck? And you got to be a fool to believe some shit like that, man. Come on. But then again, Jake that don't have no wine, Jake that don't got no oil in their vessels, they're going to fall for shit like that, man. Immediately, also like in verse 28, for wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they that shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with great power and glory. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven unto the other. You see? That's what's going to happen. When you start seeing these nukes get shot out, boom, that's the stars of heaven falling. The Most High is going to come back in his big chariot. That's in the book of 2nd Ezra, the sixth chapter, if I'm not mistaken, or the 7th chapter. Well, I can just get it real quick. Give me 1 second. It's actually in 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter. He's going to come back in his big chariot, and he's going to show himself, and he's going to send out his angels, right, his men, his army, to go out and pick up the elect. And from there, hey, we're going to barely make it, man. We're going to make it into the chariots, man. Enter into our chambers, and hide thyself, as it were, before a moment, right? Those chambers are talking about, the chariots, the beams, going into the UFOs. That's how we're going to be able to make it through, the nuclear missiles. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, we're getting ready to come into, the end of Esau, Edom's rulership. We're getting ready to come into, Jacob's trouble. And, hey, don't be caught out here just thinking shit sweet. Let's go down to verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. This also gives you a separation of that Trinity. There's no such thing as, Yahawashi is not Yahweh, and Yahweh is not Yahawashi, man. Or what you people call, Jesus is not God. All right? Hey, he is a God, though. He is a power. When you go into that word God, the scriptures say in the book of Psalms, I have said before and do say hereafter that ye are all gods, And that word gods is translated to what? To powers. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before thee, before the flood, Salakia, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into his ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Get the book of 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter. 2nd Ezra, the 9 and verse 15. I have said before, and now do speak it, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. Like as a wave is greater than a drop, man. That's what's getting ready to happen, man. For the most part, you people are not going to make it. You're out here just living in la la land, thinking shit's sweet, looking for your next career, looking for your next big whatever, money scheme, looking for your next thing, whatever, next hobby you're trying to get into. Hey, guess what? That's all your focus is. If that's all you're focused on, that's your whole mind frame. But guess what? You're not going to make it, man. And you're gonna perish no matter how many times you call upon Jesus Christ. So Lord willing, this has been edifying and exhorting to the hopeful elect. I want to face the east and give all praises, honor, and glory to our power. Yahweh, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Shalom, Yahweh, bahasham, Shalom.